Martin, the Thought Junkie here, bringing you the fire from the thought perspective.
Chad, the resident movie nerd. You see my little avatar. I got the Boston hat on. It's been a good time for Boston sports, I think. So, it's all good. It's all good.
You know you live in LA, right?
Yep. And we beat in LA twice.
Well, okay. We're editing that out. Don't worry.
I love LA. LA, I love you. I've lived here for over a decade. I love you. But, you can't cheat on me with my hometown team.
This is Chris, the film school dropout.
Yay.
That's it.
That's what happens when you're a dropout. Pretty short and sweet.
Okay, Hannibal.
Yeah, he had a birthday the other day. Oh, no, wait, that was Hannibal.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Martin.
Happy birthday to Hannibal.
Happy birthday, Hannibal verse.
They were saying happy birthday to me these days. No.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And my name is Ryan, and I'm the collector. And there's a reason for that.
Why?
I collect comics.
Do you?
And I sell them. So that's me. I'm the collector. That's what I do. I
Collect
read comics.
right.
I collect comics. I buy comics.
He also
I sell
collects
comics.
enemies.
What do you
The
mean?
souls of the enemies.
And
that he-
souls. And
I mean, if you don't sell me your fucking comic, yeah. I collect your soul. Yeah, that's right.
Capers, it was 2001 in September. And I remember I was a freshman in high school. And my mom woke me up. And she was very, frantic. And I looked on the television and didn't necessarily know what I was seeing, but as y'all know what happened, September 11th, the planes that crashed into the towers. And as a kid living in San Diego, a big military town, I had no idea what was going to happen next. But all I do remember was the film that we're about to watch here today, and what that film kind of meant for me as a kid growing up in that time, and the type of, not necessarily inspiration, but the what's the word I'm looking for? Not homage.
patriotism.
The patriotism. Yeah, there we go.
That's a
The
good word.
patriotism I felt for me and my country at that time, which leads us into our Beer of the Week.
Yeah, and our beer of the week is representative of that. It's called the Fireman's Brew.
The label looks really cool. It looks like a pendant or a badge. And we just wanted to dedicate this episode, the first one of season 2, to all the firemen and the servicemen who have lost their lives and are still affected by, and all the families too that have been affected by what happened on September 11th. So we cracked this beer open.
Yeah.
This
This
is
is the real heroes, the real life heroes.
All
Real
right.
superheroes.
Take a little drink.
Just gonna drink my water.
Okay, all right.
Here.
You'll be a fireman to drink this.
Yeah. Oh, and good to be back. Our caper of the week is Patrick Prevenus.
Patrick!
Yeah.
Patrick.
Thanks, buddy.
I used to work with him way back in the day at the Directors Guild with Martin here, Mr. Thought Junkie, and it's about probably 7-8 years ago now. So it's been a while, but yeah.
You work with someone else over here too.
Huh?
Don't reference me.
Oh yeah, and Ryan, right?
Oh yeah. Just, fuck. I don't matter.
Oh man.
Ah.
Can't take that back.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can't
I was
take that
looking
back.
away from him, and it's
Don't worry, Ryan. He didn't
but
mention me
anyways.
either.
So okay, it's part of the old DGA crew from back in the day. So Pat, thanks for supporting us and liking things and
Cheers.
listening, and
Cheers to
hope
that.
you're doing well.
5-inch brew is to you too, Pat.
Fireman's Brew.
Let's look at the comments.
So the collector is going to bring out his book of the episode.
Why are you talking about yourself in the third person?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess it feels so
This is-
just normal now.
This is news. This is new season, man.
Because of Instagram.
Yeah, gotta read it.
Man. So what I bring to you is my Amazing Spider-Man 194 from
God.
1979, CGC 9.4 near mint.
That's
Very pristine, beautiful book. I bought it at a local comic book shop for about, I think it was $150, and then in this grade doesn't sell for too much more, about $300, $350. So just a little
That's-
profit, but
yeah, that's awesome.
I was expecting a higher grade.
Looking at this cover just brought me back to the feeling where I had my first erection.
I've been there with you.
Wow.
Dude,
All right.
Wait, the ad on the back, you just said
Okay.
something to Springfield, Mass. Everybody, I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Oh,
What are the chances?
wow.
What are the chances of that? That's
I don't
random.
know. That's a good
Most of you will
question.
probably have heard of that from that's where basketball,
Yeah.
the sport, was invented, where the Hall of Fame is.
No
but-
one cares about
Is
that.
that-
Anyways,
is that what
hey,
it
that's
says?
right.
Back to Spider-Man.
But going back to Spider-Man, so
Yes.
this is the first appearance
This
of
is
the Black
cool.
Cat, which people
Yeah.
may know. There is a movie coming out eventually. It's been in development.
Who's
at least.
playing? Do they know who's
I don't
playing?
think it's been
No,
announced
okay.
yet. So
I don't
that's Felicia
think it's
Hardy.
coming out anytime soon.
Her name's Felicia. That's
Ooh.
Felicia Hardy, who plays the Black Cat.
Featuring a startling new villainous.
Very cool
it's
character.
Very black cover.
Yep.
This is
so being a black cover, this is usually a very tough kind of comic to get a high grade in. So that's why it's cool when you get a kind of near mid or above copy.
Black Cat's never been adapted for the screen yet.
Not
right?
yet, I believe.
Not
no,
for
we have
like
not
a Spider-Man movie. Okay.
No. In the animated universe, yes. There's been animated Spider-Man.
We all know how many episodes of these animated shows that I've seen.
Correct.
Yes.
Resident
Zero.
movie nerd, not the resident television show nerd.
Exactly. I'd say you've seen about as many dates as I've had in the last 6 years, so we're looking at a big fat zero.
Wow. We're going to get it real.
It's getting dark.
Ladies out there.
It's dark and like the comic book cover.
Is this free or Dr. Drew? Come on, let's go.
We can make it Dr. Drew.
Alright, so Black Cat is on the cover.
That's awesome. Okay. So this
What are you saying, Chris?
And that's Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was saying Black Cat's on the cover, and I forgot to mention, we are at Black Cat Comics.
Yes.
Did you even? No! Holy shit! I did not. Chris,
Just like
dropping. Chris, if you heard a sound, that was Chris dropping the microphone.
That was just like
ground.
the 2 feet from the ground thing. I didn't realize. Like I'm coming at the things left and right now. But great point, Chris.
That's amazing. Never let the Black Cat cross your path. We are literally inside Black Cat.
This is where we do our Black Cat Comics in Burbank. I almost said downtown Burbank, like Chad used to.
Well, beautiful where Johnny Carson.
Beautiful
Burbank.
Downtown adjacent.
Burbank.
Yeah.
What's the address of your Black Cat?
It's on Magnolia somewhere in the 10,000s. I don't know. Addresses go very high in Los Angeles.
But yeah, check it out. Black Hat Comics, great store, great selection of comics, very cool other accessory. I mean, not accessory, but like other knickknacks and cool toys and everything. Definitely heavy with the toys, so check it out.
Real quick before we get started, first thing you see here, go.
Oh, the Stormtrooper from Star Wars. Excuse me,
Chris. The Gray Hulk, the super buff.
Oh, nice.
You
can't say the Grey Hulk. This is not Chad Strong.
The Laserdisc Special Edition of Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Ooh, nice. I see the Marvel Legends of who's that? Silver dude again? That's not Apocalypse. I can't even say Colossus.
Why don't you pick something that you know what it is before you say there's literally
it's
1,000 things in it.
At least you figured it right away.
I see 1,000 things in this room.
All right.
It's very colorful and fun.
Guys, today we are doing, if you don't know, with the intro, with the fire, going back to the firemen and what we were talking about before.
Or just look at the image of the file you're listening to, but that's all good.
Spider-Man, not to be
The
confused
OG
with
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah, cinematic.
2002, Tobey Maguire.
with Lord Toby.
Lord?
Lord Toby.
Okay.
Spider-Man.
I didn't know he was knighted.
Let's do this. Ready? 5. Was that in the office? 30, 29, 28, 27, 5, 4, 3,
What is going on?
2, 1.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah,
This
go
is,
for it.
we all work in the movie industry here. I loved studio logos and stuff like this growing up. Here's the Columbia logo. Grew up with that in front of like Men in Black and Air Force One and Spider-Man and all these movies I loved. And now I work for this studio and I work on a movie and that logo goes before it now. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Same with when I worked at Paramount, when I worked at Warner Brothers. I love the Universal logo too, and I've never worked there. But,
Yeah.
Anyways, just saying that. But
Did that Marvel scroll happen in Blade as well? I forgot.
no, this is the first movie that features that flipping Marvel logo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize this was the first
Here
one.
we go, guys. Spider-Man 2002.
This-
Wow.
I know we say this a lot, but this was the one that started
Started
it all. Okay, well, it was up there. I mean, it was right after X-Men, but
Yep.
more than X-Men, this is kind of like a template for how a Marvel
Yep.
Studios movie is made.
Was this a
today.
summer release?
May 3rd, 2002, so right beginning of summer.
Collector hat. Ryan here. I got to go into something. If I can just stop you guys
Yes.
for a second, because this is bringing back memories. But what's more important is from the comic book side. It all started on just Fantastic Four with Stan Lee really got it all started. But no. I'm sorry. It was Spider-Man. Stan Lee was working at Marvel or Timely Comics. Thanks for holding my hand. Sorry. He was working at Timely Comics and or maybe Marvel at the time, and he wanted to do his own thing. The editor I want to say it was Marv Goodman. Don't quote me on that. But he gave him the chance to do his own comic, and lo and behold, a little character called Spider-Man comes out in Amazing Fantasy 15 in 1962, and that births a generation of characters and just amazing stories to come from that. So it's just a cool story. It's 1962 Amazing Fantasy 15.
Wow.
So Spider-Man kind of launched the comic Marvel universe and also launched the cinematic Marvel universe.
interesting.
in a way,
So Fantastic Four 1 and 2, maybe 3 came out before Amazing Fantasy. I think just 1 or 2 came out before Amazing Fantasy 15. But this was the character that really put them on the map. I mean, Spider-Man was a big deal when that came out.
This is a good movie.
This
I remember,
opening.
I remember when this came out.
I'm
not sure if I've seen. I definitely saw this when it came out in 2002. I was in high school. I just didn't. I don't think I've watched it much since then. But it's like the Danny Elfman theme coming in. That's actually pretty.
This feels so epic and childish at the same time. You know what I mean?
Well, these 17-year-old opening graphics look a little dated, but I mean.
But they look like anime. They look really animated because at the time. Spider-Man was a cartoon.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they tried to make some unsuccessful, cheesier movie.
Oh yeah.
But this is it kind of plays homage to the cartoons, hitting the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I was at the Stanley Tribute and during one of the panels, Avi Arad actually spoke. He was very tough to understand, I'll admit. But yeah, no, he talked about what it was like creating the cinematic universe right from the beginning with Stan Lee and just the troubles and tribulations of trying to get these characters to the big screen. The studio's doing it. It was just intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah. I like how we opened with this voiceover because this is what we were used to with the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
You always had that voiceover that was playing.
So Avi Arad continues to produce all the Spider-Man stuff today, including up to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Kevin Feige. This was one of his first credited producer credits as a producer. He was only 28 or 29. Kevin Feige in this. I don't know how he rose up the ranks at Marvel, and he's been there ever since. And and then David Kepper wrote the screenplay. Also did the screenplay for Mission Impossible, Jurassic Park, The Lost World. So he's had some big hits in his career.
Really?
For as many people that don't like The Lost World, The Lost World still gets credit for a lot of things. Whenever you talk about someone in their credits, when you say The Lost World, you're just like, oh yeah, he did The Lost World.
The Lost World. I like The Lost World.
Well, a lot of people worked on The Lost World.
You know what? We will.
A mess. No.
Lost World at one point held the opening weekend record for a movie. It was $73 million.
Wow.
And we'll get more into opening weekend records later in our discussion.
So we got the infamous Mary Jane Watson first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 25, and Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker's all-time crush. Yeah. And what's cool is, up until Stan Lee created the Marvel Universe, really characters, DC characters especially, were gods among men. These were the first characters that we got that were just goofballs or had issues and stuff. So that's what's unique about
they're regular people.
Yeah, regular people.
That's probably why we cling on to Peter Parker so much, because he is just a regular kid. Looks like a regular kid with insecurities, just like all of us has.
Any one of us could be the next Spider-Man.
Anyone can wear the mask if you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's true.
You think about it, it's like when you think about Superman, like Clark Kent, or you think about Bruce Wayne, that's their personas that hiding their secret identities.
Yeah.
With with Spider-Man, that's him just falling into being a Spider-Man. Right. And a lot of the Marvel characters are like that. Like you said, it's kind of like they're real people that kind of it's kind of the opposite. They're playing a hero, but they're real.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of there's a lot to talk about with this movie, and at least for the stuff I know about, and Sam Raimi at this point was known for horror movies mostly after Evil Dead and Army of Darkness.
God. Love those movies.
Yeah,
I mean, he did things a little bit before this, A Simple Plan, and some things that weren't as much straight up horror. But For the Love of the Game, he did a baseball movie or something right before this too.
Did he? I remember that movie.
I mean, so he was kind of an interesting choice for this, and the studio almost went with a lot of other directors that were considered, including David Fincher. James Cameron was working on this for years, all through the '90s. James Cameron wrote a lot of treatments and script drafts and things like that. Cameron was going to do it. You know who he
I didn't realize Cameron had a play in that.
Yeah, early on. You know who he wanted to cast as Spider-Man was Edward Furlong, who played John Connor in Terminator 2. He really wanted him to play it. But then Cameron ended up moving out of it, and they considered Fincher. M. Night Shyamalan, your boy Martin, was considered for this.
What?
What do you think the twist ending would have been if he...
the twist ending would have been no sequel.
Yeah. Spider-Man just dies at the end with a twist.
With a twist.
But then Sam Raimi took over, and other actors considered their studio really wanted Leonardo DiCaprio for this. James Franco tested for it, but of course got a different role in this.
Could go so many directions.
So there was a lot of people considered.
Yep. So I have to point out, a short while ago, we met Harry Osborn and Norman Osborn. So Norman Osborn, first appearance, Amazing Spider-Man 14, iconic book and cover. And, Chris, do you want to chime in?
No.
Very expensive book, and just one of the all-time greatest villains in, truthfully, comic book history. I mean, Green Goblin, like, you can't beat that character. But and then Harry Osborn, first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 31, really cool cover with kind of a red with a spider on top of it. Great book to own if you ever get them.
Can I just say something? After seeing this movie, this was like the only thing this is like maybe one of the first things I ever saw James Franco in. And I did not like James Franco for years after these movies.
Me too.
The sequel too, because he's such a douche in this, and he's like a villain and stuff. And you know what? I hated James Franco for about 6 years. You know what made me love James Franco, and I've liked him ever since?
7 hours.
Huh?
I was going to say Annapolis.
No, Pineapple Express. I saw Pineapple Express in 2008, and I was like, all right, I like James Franco now. I've liked him ever since, but I really didn't like him after that because he was so good at playing.
Who plays Flash again? Flash Thompson?
Joe Manganiello.
Yes, Joe
This was
Manganiello.
his first film.
Isn't that crazy?
First movie, wow.
First movie.
Yeah.
When I realized this, it was only a couple of years ago. I was like, wait, Joe Manganiello was Flash Thompson, and because I'm not sure if I've seen this movie since it came out around 2002.
That's crazy.
I didn't realize it until right now.
And I didn't realize he was that young. I was like, wait, I thought Joe Manganiello was like a lot older, but all these actors are way older than teenagers. Tobey Maguire's like 27, 28. Franco's like in his late 20s. Kristen Dunst is like 20. She's
So basically,
the closest.
it was like Ralph Macchio playing the Karate Kid in there.
Joe Manganiello was like 24, 25, but I thought he was a lot older. I didn't realize he played it's weird to see him playing a high schooler in this one. He's like he's such a man and like magic making stuff, Yeah, I've seen those movies, whatever. Shut up. Shut up.
Okay, I got a thought junkie question here.
Go. Shoot.
I've been watching a lot of Doug lately on Nickelodeon. Yes, Doug.
I love Doug.
Doug is great.
Doug too, yeah.
But my question is, do you think we see these characters that we've seen throughout movies and throughout books, and would there be like the nerd character if we are there nerds out there who watch this and wouldn't have become nerds if they hadn't seen this? You know what I mean? Is it like the self-fulfilling prophecy that we're looking at here? Like, you have to become a nerd, or you have to become an asshole. Like,
because you might get bitten by a radioactive spider and become a superhero?
No,
I don't know.
I'm talking about in real life.
Nerds.
Like, he's that nerd character that you see.
No, I hear you saying people can, I think, relate to that character, and it might even push you over time into, if you feel that you can relate to him and he's iconic, and you grow up appreciating the character and loving it, you buy the action figures in the comics. Yeah, I think that could kind of... I'd say that had an effect on me a little bit growing up the comics.
Stuff like this bothers me in movies where... Did you see that where he's taking her picture and it went through his POV of his camera? But it's clearly a shot, and it's not. She's not even looking at the camera. They're clearly using the shot and just putting a filter over it.
Yeah.
Right? See, she's not looking...
I do that sometimes.
I have a POV of her looking into the lens. That stuff bothers me.
That's interesting.
Sorry.
It feels cinematic.
So now we get
It's
our
more
iconic...
cinematic this way.
we get our iconic moment with the mutated spider about to bite Peter Parker. And he becomes Spider-Man.
That was kind of rude. She just walked away.
She did.
It was a dick move, not gonna lie.
I love the Spider-Verse bite.
The Spider-Verse where he just just hits it and it just falls off dead. It's like so nonchalant.
Like, how many... Going back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, how many people wanted to be Peter Parker here? You know what I mean? Like, he's a nerd, but how many people wanted to be that nerd?
I guess I don't know. I don't think anyone wanted to be Peter Parker. Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that. It's just that you can relate to him. Like, yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be. I mean, let's be honest. He's a dork and a loser and shit. That's me. But anyway, but yeah, it's not so much that I think you want to be him. You just relate to him, but it's what he becomes. Not even so much just the powers in Spider-Man. The confidence that he builds and the heroism. That's what you want. That's what I think kicks you in with the character.
I agree. I think they do a really good job at conveying that too.
I agree too. Yeah,
that's why Tobey Maguire was such an iconic. Like, people talk trash about Tobey, but man, this is Tobey. This is our Spider-Man here.
Sam Raimi actually cast him off his performance in the Cider House Rules, which is a much more dramatic movie.
Yeah.
Oh. Which was...
Wait, you mean that's what he based it that he wanted after seeing...
Yeah. Cider House Rules was 3 years before this came out.
Interesting.
So,
God, that's crazy to think that. It felt like it was so much longer.
Willem Dafoe, doesn't
his
face already look exactly like the Green Goblin.
How do you think he got casted?
Right?
Willem Dafoe.
Wow, we have to put makeup on.
Like, oh, this dude looks like the Green Goblin.
Doesn't Willem Dafoe have like the most the weirdest face in all of movies?
Funny thing that
you
bring that up, because a lot of people have photoshopped him into what would honestly be the perfect Joker. Like you should see a photoshopped image of his Joker. He looks
at the
so
lines
good
on his face already, like in this scene here.
He looks perfect.
This guy's supposed to be like Professor X. He's like a bald guy in a wheelchair.
No, he's just a board member.
Huh.
Could be that. I don't know.
Speaking of which,
I guess
this was 2 years after the huge success that was X-Men. Marvel was doing its movie thing. Marvel Studios itself wasn't formed, but it was still in nascent stages. Wolverine was supposed to have a cameo.
In this?
Yes.
Wow.
Hugh Jackman
That would be
even
weird.
flew to New York, and at the last second they axed it and stuff. But because they couldn't find like the suit from X-Men. He was nowhere.
So we now get
Because they couldn't find the suit from X-Men
something
to wear?
like that. I don't know.
We now got Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Also first appeared in Amazing Fantasy 15 with Peter Parker with Spider-Man. So iconic characters right here for obvious reasons, because they put him into the direction that he's gonna go.
Wow. I just gotta say, man, Aunt May is a lot hotter in Homecoming.
Well, yeah, that's obvious. Captain
I don't miss the days when Aunt May was like an old grandma. I like hot Marissa Tomei Aunt May. I'm just saying. Thank you for modernizing that Marvel Studios.
They've publicly explained it's interesting the dynamic, how from each Spider-Man to the next, she progressively gets younger. So you get this actress who's clearly
wasn't the
older.
same actress for the whole trilogy?
Yeah, no, not from in the series.
Oh, then to Sally Field.
Then Sally Field, and then of course Marissa Tomei.
Yes.
So they progressively got her younger.
I always like that.
Sally Field looks younger than her.
There was always, I don't know which cartoon it was. Was it what channel did it? But I remember they were like really pushing Aunt May as like a single mom, and she was young and like held 2 jobs and really active. I always thought that was really cool, but I just don't remember where I saw that at. So Capers, if you remember that, it wasn't that Uncle Ben had died. It was just like he left or something like that. So let us know.
Man, Toby looks
Uncle
like
Ben.
shit here.
Toby actually jacked up for this movie. I think once he gets into like Spider-Man mode.
So you think this is pre-jack up that shot, or you think it's special effects?
Ooh, I think it's pre-jack up.
Yeah, they didn't.
pretty jacked up.
In 2002, they didn't have the ability to do like the skinny Steve like Captain America thing. Yeah.
Oh, so he shot this, and then they let him work out.
Yeah.
Shot some other stuff, and they brought him back.
That kind of makes sense.
Martin, that looks like when you had that spider bite on your chest.
So Martin, why don't you tell everyone what spider bite
What's
you
it
got
like
and how
to
it
get a
happened?
crazy, like pussy,
Guys,
horrifying looking
last
spider
year I
bite?
had a spider bite like right on my boob.
We recorded an episode here while you had that, and I was like, what the hell?
Can you please explain to us what it looked like?
It looked just like that thing on Peter Parker's hand. If you're watching this with us,
That's like horrifying.
I was like,
Giant wart.
and the worst thing is, I went to the doctor. It wasn't pussing or anything like that. I'm like, all right. Went to the doctors. They're like, oh, it's tender. You'll be okay. Take this antibiotics. Took the antibiotics. Woke up the next morning. Just a trail of pus just
Oh,
went all the way down.
We're done. We're
We're
done.
done.
So I just
He got no
want to point
spider
out-
powers.
No spider powers.
I just want to point out, so the green metal device that has the serum or whatever that Norman's about to put him, that was actually that came from the Secret of the Use from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What?
Wait,
Are you
green ooze. We
I'm lying.
we've
already green news. There's already Asian
reporter. Asian scientist.
Okay, that was my
reporter Trisha Tuckenow.
That was my attempt to mess with the KC Free Cruise.
Green lamp.
Green lamp. You saw green lamp already?
Chris is paying attention to whose fault it is for certain.
I'm watching.
It's your own damn fault.
Dude,
I mean, this is his own damn
Streets.
fault for taking that thing.
Yeah.
William was
Taking
a
that
good
drug
shit,
himself. Well, there's no human suspects. I mean, not suspects.
Subjects.
Subjects. Let's put a J in there.
Calm down, Shaft.
Subjects.
man. Damn fault.
Guys,
Y'all see that new Shaft trailer?
It looks pretty
Yeah.
bad. It looks
Sounds like-
badass.
yeah,
It looks
looks dope.
badass. You know, I never even saw the 2000.
I mean, I don't like the fact that it's called Shaft. It's like the 2000s called Shaft too.
Still, because Samuel Jackson's still in it. You
Right.
can have the same exact titles
Yeah.
when he previously played Shaft.
Yeah.
That was 19 years ago.
Look,
Anyways,
I'm working on
Let's-
promotional
hashtag
partnerships.
cinematic pet peeve.
I'm working on
Yeah.
promotional partnerships right now for Shaft, and it's like I have to put in parentheses 2019.
Oh, I
Yeah.
hate
Let
that.
them
Like,
know.
when they do remakes, like just make the title a little different, so you don't have to say which one.
I love that
Gas
XL right
himself.
there.
That's pretty bad.
Just a little bit of scared. He's so scared.
Uh huh. Yeah, see, that's his own damn fault. But why did he get up in there? Is he a bad guy? Won't you just grab someone off the street?
Tell him, Chris.
Come on.
Oh, I love these
get a homeless
Sony like deep cathode ray tube monitors. I love it.
See, you know that's the crazy
2002.
thing.
I love it.
Like early superhero films, like the villain, he takes that plunge right away. You're right. You're onto something, Chris.
Yeah.
Like the newer villains, like they're taking people off the streets.
Like it's a test.
It's not. They're not becoming that bad guys for the third act. Our
That's actually-
superheroes,
Oh, that's true. That's true.
they do it within the first act.
What do you enjoy more? Do you appreciate the villain developing right away, or do you like it happening in
right
I don't
away.
mind. I don't
I mean,
mind him going full
Right
villain.
away.
I don't want him doing it like this. You know, so I'm just going to drink it myself. Come on. Come on.
right
Does he
away,
got a
because-
family? Does he have a kid?
I gotta be honest, this doctor scientist dude had
Whoa, look at that snap zoom.
Hold on, this doctor
Love
scientist
that.
dude, he had it coming to him because he's an idiot.
It's his own damn fault.
It's his own damn fault, yeah.
Yeah.
You deserve to die.
Guys, it's good to be back. Say, doing Cape Seat Free. This is fun.
It's good to be back,
This is
guys. Hell yeah.
No, but this really was a great choice doing the Green Goblin just because he is the Joker to Batman, it is the Green Goblin to Spider-Man,
Right.
quite
Yeah.
frankly. So he's a great villain choice.
I remember my screenwriting teacher always talking about. She was always like, "All right, give us a movie. Let's talk about it in class." And every time I would choose
How'd
this,
they do that shot?
it was a good question.
Looking through the glasses and stuff.
Well,
they
hold
put
on,
the glasses in front of the
Martin, what were
screen?
you saying?
All right, before I was really.
Oh, actually,
Yeah,
really
how
good.
did
Sorry.
you-
That was
That was
We're gonna
cool.
point it out.
No, Sam. Okay, can I just say something real quick?
Oh.
Sam Raimi wanted to do as much in camera or with little CGI as possible. So even in when we get to the big special effects Spider-Man action scenes, there's still a lot of like. It's not just complete CGI characters, which was harder back then, but like it's a lot of like elements in front of green screens and like models and stuff like that. So he didn't want scenes to be completely animated like a lot of
Yeah.
CG movies are today.
That's
so.
that. That's that
So
old
Sam-
school horror
Because
director
Sam
for you.
Raimi comes from the low budget horror like
Yeah.
Peter Jackson, and they want to do all this like practical stuff, which is great.
In the comic books, you can correct me, but his high school sweetheart is Gwen Stacy.
Massachusetts license plate. That's right.
In the comics, right? His high school is Gwen Stacy.
Well-
Mary Jane comes on later on. After he
No.
becomes a reporter.
Mary Jane first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 25. Gwen Stacy first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 31. So
Okay.
Mary Jane came first.
But he. Do you fall for her, or do you fall for Gwen? Do you break up with her?
No, I'd say it's more Mary Jane from the start.
Wait,
I
Gwen
think
Stacy's not in any of these live action movies, is she?
Yeah, she's in the third
Third
one.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Played
Played by
by-
Mrs. Howard.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
thank you,
That's
Bryce
not-
Dallas
yeah.
Howard.
That's how. And she's
Played by
also
Ivy
and she's
Ivy
the
Walker.
lead in the Amazing Spider-Man. It's Gwen Stacy. It's not Mary Jane.
Have you guys ever seen
Actually, that's a good
superhero
question,
movie
Chris.
when
I
the
feel
dude's
like
running
Mary
after the
Jane
bus and it
was the
stops
immediate
and he just runs into the
romantic.
stop sign?
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean,
I
with the
worked-
long
I
term
worked-
story,
I
Gwen
worked on
Stacy was the
superhero
one,
movie
and when he
title
was
sequence,
younger,
by the way.
and then
And
Mary Jane comes
If any of
later
you have seen that.
when he becomes a reporter and stuff. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know that with the first comics. I don't know what it originally was, but that's what
Yeah.
the story wound up being later on.
Right.
His backstory.
Dude, his attire is so like 2000s,
Oh, I
early
love this.
2000s.
This is so 2000s.
So Backstreet
I love
Boys.
it.
The grunge.
Guys, let's talk about 2002 for a second. Let's talk about it. So we were all in high school.
I was a freshman
Right.
going to sophomore.
I
was a senior.
No,
Just
we're
out
the
of
same
school.
year in
Not a
school, aren't we?
senior.
No, I was a.
I was a senior. I graduated.
Shit.
When did you graduate? What year?
I went to college.
I was-
in
No, wait,
2000.
you're right. I was a sophomore.
I was a senior.
2002.
Yeah.
Did you go to school early?
College.
Did you go to college early?
I'm not
All right, we
How
don't need
old
to
are
get
you?
into those
I'm
details.
34.
How are you so old?
I'm not old, man. You know, I mean, go fuck yourself.
Okay.
but I'm old.
Anyways. So we're all
Oh,
in high
Chad is
school.
getting on
Now, now he's
tangent.
interrupting us. Yeah, right. This fucking
No, that's
asshole.
what
We're
it
getting
is.
into the small details. Okay, so
Oh
we're
my
all in high
God.
school.
We work with the biggest hypocrite.
Although I remember this came out May 3rd, 2002. This was the weekend I got my first car. The weekend
Oh,
Spider-Man
nice.
came out. I got my first car because I was 17.
Was it the
Or,
same
no,
one you-
16. I was 16.
Same one you came to LA with?
No, this was a 1994 Mercury Topaz. It was
Mm.
white and it had a completely maroon interior. So it was great.
Oh,
First time we
this
were seeing
first
the first time we're
Wait,
seeing
right here.
Spider
The
Sense.
tray shot. That's
Oh.
practical.
Reverse?
156 takes of him catching the stuff
Shut
on the
up.
tray. They used a
What?
sticky substance. It's completely in camera. 156 takes.
Oh,
You
really?
get that? Yep.
Things just got really scary.
Almost died.
But anyway, so yeah, I remember this
Kristen
came
Black
out.
Cat
so
Comics was
pretty.
This is a big deal.
Just like she's
Kristen
so
does this. Yeah.
And this
she's so
thing, yeah.
affectionate, you know, like just her smile.
good.
She perfect casting for her.
You know the funny thing is,
Other
the
people-
most,
Yeah, I wasn't even a big
Oh,
Kristen
sorry.
Dunst
A lot of
fan
people-
after this either.
Yeah.
I mean, before this, I should.
I know a lot of people, like, even today, like people are like web or message boards and whatnot. They talk trash about her.
that's what I was gonna say. They do.
It's so
they really do.
weird.
I agree with you. I did not think she was bad as Mary Jane.
Me neither.
Yeah.
You see Bring It On?
No.
Bring It On was great.
So, Ryan, maybe you can talk a little about this. We're seeing now that
Something like
he physically has the ability to produce webbing.
Just as he does in the comics.
Okay,
No.
so where did the mechanical thing come from?
I'm gonna say that was a movie thing.
No.
It's in his DNA.
Because
No, it's a movie. No, this is a movie thing. It
No. I mean, when he uses the canisters, I don't. That's not. He doesn't use. He has the.
So
The
originally-
cartoon was a
Wait.
canister in the cartoon.
He's always used the canisters.
In the cartoon, it was a canister for sure.
Yeah, everything was the
I
canister.
thought
This is
I
the only
read-
time it wasn't the
I
canister.
thought I read this
I've never
movie
seen
made
it.
it. This movie
I thought,
made it
yeah.
biological.
Alright.
Yeah.
And then they changed it in the comics
Oh.
because of the success of this movie.
You're right. I have it backwards.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it was all mechanical.
Thank you.
That's why it went back to mechanical for every other
Because I think Sam
iteration
Raimi
with it.
didn't believe that like he would be able to build
So quickly.
something like that himself.
Well, it's funny because like if it was biological, it shouldn't have come out of his butt. I mean,
That's a good point.
should it
Why
not?
does it come out of his wrist?
Yeah, if it's supposed to be biological, but hey.
Thought joking moment. I was so floored by how much diversity was in that was in Homecoming.
Right.
Oh my
it's great.
gosh.
When Ned's like an Asian dude, and the Flash.
Well, the problem I had with Flash, they made him so much shorter.
Oh,
the guy doesn't
that's
even seem like a threat.
Yeah, Joe
to
Manganiello
me.
is like huge, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Rivoli, whatever his name is
Yeah,
not.
he doesn't
a big
seem like a
dude,
threat
which
at all.
is One of the funniest things you guys remember, like, was it 21 Jump Street or something? I go back to high school and it's like completely where like the nerds are like the cool kids. And
Oh yes,
everything like
yes,
that.
I
Like,
remember that.
it's
Yes,
It's so true. Things like I feel like we were right at the cusp of like the difference in like what was considered cool and nerdy, and now it's all like backwards and stuff. So 21 Jump Street did that really funny when they go back.
I always
It's
say,
all
like,
different.
our generation is so unique because we were there and we remember Atari, but we were also there for PlayStation. So I feel like our generation is never going to be out of the loop when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
Maybe every other generation felt that way too.
Wait,
But-
but I'm the one who's not on Instagram or
That's your choice.
I don't have an iPhone.
like,
I don't have
Peter Parker in the second Spider-Man.
I don't know what Snapchat
Brilliant,
is.
but lazy.
Yeah.
have you ever seen the
Yeah,
close-up
yeah.
of his fingers
Yeah.
like
I
that?
remember that from the trailer.
Mhm.
I know. I mean, but in the comics, because to me, I feel like we don't talk about it, but they don't talk about it in the comics. But yeah, if that's the case, once he put gloves on, how's he doing?
Well, they
this?
probably go through the gloves. I'm going to assume.
Some wire work probably. Him on.
So he gets
on
super
wires.
longer. Okay.
This is a fun shot, though. Just imagine.
Going around.
Oh,
Is he
yeah.
walking on the floor right now or something?
No,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
on the wall. He's walking up the wall of the
Oh,
building.
what are they roping him?
The visual effects.
Oh no! In
actually
real
are
life, he's on the
pretty good.
floor.
Those look
They're
good.
just
Yeah,
they're camera work in it, but
that's great camera work.
Wait, Chad just said he was on the wall. I'm confused.
oh no, he was
I
on
think
the
he was
floor.
ground.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought too. Yeah. This is when they shoot it to conceptualize. Like,
The way that the CG human version of him bends when he lands really reminds me of like every shot of a CG person in like the Matrix sequels. Like because it was right around the same time.
I gotta
like-
go to me. This is holding up. Like the visual effects.
Most of
are
it, yeah.
jumping.
Except
I
for the
like
close
it.
up of him
Wait.
with his arms running
Yeah.
like this.
Most of it's
but
held
also,
up.
I liked it.
can't you guys appreciate the moment in like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse where like Miles is like, I'm gonna jump off a building, and he just like stops and just goes back down and picks a lower building.
Yeah.
Here's a kid who's never done this. He climbs a wall and all of a sudden he's just jumping across buildings in New York. Like, where's that moment of like, can I do this? Should I do this kind of thing? And I think that's great that you saw Miles go through that.
Peter's
Like, have you
the
ever
boss.
had a moment? Because I think we've all been there. Like, I remember when I lost a lot of weight, and then suddenly we talked about this last time, Ryan. Suddenly, like, you're able to run and you're more agile, and you start tripping over yourself until you
it's a
get
good
used
feeling.
to it. Such a good feeling, but it's like I would have so much trepidation by doing anything like this. If I was on the edge of a building, regardless of what kind of powers I had, even if my entire life I was a nerd who thought I wasn't going to amount to anything, I still couldn't do this.
Well, yeah, jump off the building like this? No.
No.
Okay.
Hell no.
Can I also say something real quick? Okay, so he knows he can squirt the substance out of his wrist like he just did, and he immediately grabs on and holds on. If anything squirted out of any part of your body, would you like hold on to it and like I don't know? It's that's way too gross.
Well, actually,
That's a really strong
I
mucus.
secreted this.
And I just wanna know
I'm holding
where's-
on to my own mucus.
Where's the excess web going, by the way? Like, where, like inside of him? Like, where's it coming from?
Exactly. I have so
until-
many questions.
How he doesn't
I
know if it's
still-
strong enough. He didn't even test it.
I still
He jumped off a building.
I have those questions about normal spiders too. Where's it all come from?
In their anus, right?
Yeah, if you guys ever watch like Planet Earth, like these spiders have like 100 yards. They like drift on. Like, where does it come from? I don't know. It's amazing. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah. Is he looking into Mary Jane?
Aw, Michelangelo reload in the ovens.
We're about to get that.
Yeah, he's looking. Oh no, he's looking into the domestic violence of the house.
So I've always
Go upstairs. It's better upstairs.
I grew up
That's
in.
when she takes off her shirt.
I grew up in big cities, but I never was so close to my neighbor in a city like this where I was like, how does that actually feel? I know you're from Boston-ish area over there. What is it like living in that area? Does it really look like this? Does it really backyards like this?
Not where I grew up. No, I'm more from
Somebody just called on my back. Somebody just called on my back. Somebody just called on my back.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
I felt something. I felt something.
What are you talking about? Because we're thinking about spiders.
I swear I felt something. Either that was Chad touching me.
No, it was not.
Or there's somebody called down my back.
You're getting
Okay.
straight.
Oh, God.
I think I'm fine. I think I'm
Martin,
fine.
answer the question. I'm from more of this is in Queens. I'm from more of the suburbs in Western Massachusetts. We have actual full backyards and stuff back.
No, my uncle and aunt, they lived in a place. It was like this. I mean, it looked kind of like this.
Yeah.
But it was a little more woodsy, but the houses were close enough so you could actually, you come out to the backyard, you can actually see the next person's backyard like that.
Yeah, this looks like this looks like a real location too, because you can see pretty far into the distance. So this movie was actually mostly shot in Los Angeles.
Really?
There were a lot of places in around LA.
Where the heck they find this place at?
And filmed on this Sony Studios lot in Culver City.
I love how Chad can just reference what I'm talking about and then go straightly into a fact about the.
What's
it's
wrong
so
with
cool.
that? I thought that was what I was here for.
I think that's his
what I'm
superpower.
saying.
Anyway,
That's
Shame that you can do that.
all right.
We're talking about locations and you could bam.
Well, I had that one in the chamber. All right, I've been waiting. So, and it was mostly filmed in LA. Obviously, all the interior stage stuff done at Sony, but they did exterior there. Filmed at the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles. Some famous, mansions and stuff for the Osborne residence and things like that.
In LA?
Yep. And, the Daily Planet building is, that's in New York. Because then they went to New York for a little bit and did a lot of exteriors and stuff in New York. So, so.
I would like to test my fellow capers.
Ooh.
Excuse me. No, I didn't mean that. Not
We're
you guys.
Capers.
I mean, you kind of are.
We're
My
capers.
Cape C free the crew.
I
would like to test you to do a little quick trivia.
Okay.
What does Mary Jane call Tiger? I just gave it away.
Tiger.
Fuck me.
Tiger.
Fuck me sideways. I just gave it away.
Whoa!
God
my
damn
niece
it.
listens to this.
No, we can
Yeah.
curse. It's
What is
fine.
she called?
Well,
Tiger?
and he failed. And the collector failed himself.
Oh, I just failed myself. I'm so mad at myself.
His
Whatever.
phone ringing.
Maybe
Who
I'll-
didn't silence their phone?
Maybe I'll figure out a
This is
new
Kate
one.
Martin. Cape Seat Free 101.
We all work in the
Come
industry,
on.
and we all
Are
should
you
know
the
the
guy
sounds
in
of
We didn't
phones.
have it we didn't have first AD here.
I used to do first AD.
That's the worst job ever.
It was pretty tough. Anyway, Mary Jane.
All right,
used to
think
call
of another trivia
Peter
question.
Parker.
Think of
Tiger.
another trivia question.
No, that was a good one. Damn it.
That was a good one.
That's fine. I'll come up with another one at some point.
Did we talk about Vampiro last time we watched a Spider-Man?
Vampiro?
That's a WW.
Who's
that's
that?
a WCW.
Oh, we need to talk about
Guy.
Angeline.
I don't want to talk
At
about
some point afterwards, I want to hear that.
I don't want to talk about
we're talking
no,
about
no,
it.
Who's
It's
the
not,
vampire
it's not
character?
Spider-Man related. Let's not talk about
Who's,
it.
the
No,
va- who's the vampire character?
Morbius.
Morbius. There we
No,
go.
why-
we
why
talked
do you wanna
about it
talk
for
about
Blade.
Morbius?
Got it. We talked about Morbius for Blade.
Oh,
because
guys.
I had a comic that was a cross. Yeah, there was a.
Guys, speaking of Blade,
Yes.
have you been watching the new season of True Detective? Stephen Norrington,
No,
who's the
I haven't
villain
seen it
in
yet.
Blade, is one of the
Norrington.
main characters in the new season of True Detective. He's
Oh.
amazing. Just saying. Okay.
Mhm,
Wow.
Okay, great.
Just had to bring that
Little
up.
bit of
Oh, now he wants to buy a car to impress
These
Mary
cars
Jane.
are so
Oh,
expensive.
this movie's so 90s. Love it.
Now he would have been like, what's that new Car Quest or something? Just online looking for cars.
Oh yeah, this is how data is. He's looking for cars in the newspapers, looking at the classifieds. Now it would be like a Google search. Oh, look at this little Mary Jane superimposed effect.
that is what's fun about
Wow.
these dated movies.
And it's nice and simple. His motivation to go wrestle is he wants to try to buy a car so he can impress the girl that
Exactly.
he likes.
Yeah.
Very simple motivation that any kid would have.
Yep.
And
I would have.
hey,
I would have killed for a 1993 black Honda Civic with green underlights, just like in Fast and Furious 1. I would have killed for that to impress girls.
So since
Martin, you're probably the only person. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, thanks, Chad.
No.
Man, that was really
No, I
sweet.
just had a quick follow up. I said, I was
Okay, you know what? I'm
Martin's
so
talking about
appreciative. You do follow.
No, real
Yes.
quick. No, Martin's, Fast and Furious
Oh,
cards. I think Martin's the only person in the world who doesn't like the Fast and Furious films for moving further away from street racing and more into the
interesting.
fun territory.
Well, the family.
Correct.
He doesn't like them.
How much street racing can you do? All right.
I was just going to say, since in the moment Peter was creating his eventual Spider-Man costume on paper in these scenes that we just watched, you know, what a lot of people may not know about the character when he was first created in '62 when Stan Lee wrote him was he collaborated with a famous artist named Jack Kirby who passed away a long time ago. But Jack Kirby drew him too confident, too cocky, too good looking, and that's not the way Stan Lee wanted him drawn. He wanted him to look like a nerd, you know, a loser, a kid who, you know, really just had issues in life and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he then eventually took on a also well-known artist who became a hermit and, you know, really left the industry. But Steve Ditko. So he worked on issue 1 to 39, and then John Romita Sr. took over from there. But yeah, a lot of people may not know Jack Kirby did it originally, ended it with him for just that issue, and Steve Ditko took over from there. So.
God, because you collector, like I see so much more now when I look at credits. Like when it comes to superhero films and superhero movies, television shows, it's so cool.
And that's what's nice is Stan Lee would, even though him and Jack Kirby had a falling out, as well as pretty much everyone really, he still gave Jack credit and Steve on movies, whereas, you know, Bob Kane never really gave Jerry, Bill Finger, excuse me, the original artist for Batman, any credit in the movie. So that is one thing that I will give Stan Lee credit for, to say the least.
So you know Cliff Robertson, who plays Uncle Ben here, I don't know all the details, but he's been around for a long time. I think he may have won an Oscar or something in the 60s. He died in 2011, I think. But you know, he had been blacklisted by Columbia Pictures. This is the first Columbia Pictures movie he appeared in like 25 years.
Wow.
Since like the 70s. I don't know all the details. Something like somebody at Columbia was like forging his signature on checks or something. It wasn't his fault, but like he ended up like testifying against the studio or something. I don't know. Something happened and he ended up getting blacklisted. So this is like his return to Columbia Pictures.
Is it blacklisted or blackballed?
Listed.
Blacklisted, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And isn't
but this isn't for like the commie stuff.
Right. Isn't that's like a thing throughout Hollywood history, the infamous blacklist, like if you make it, you're done. I mean,
well, now the name blacklist associated with the best scripts that get passed around Hollywood every year. That's what the blacklist is now.
Gotcha.
The best unproduced scripts in Hollywood get circulated every year.
Did it start with communism in the 50s with like McCarthy?
Yeah, that's kind of where
Hollywood?
that term came from, with Joseph McCarthy.
It's interesting. I was just thinking, me, who didn't necessarily have a father figure, that's the cool thing about superhero films is that you don't necessarily see color. I never see color when I'm watching superhero films. I don't know why.
You're not just like, this is a bunch of white people and their problems.
Right.
That's great. That's
really cool.
Interesting, huh?
But we'll talk about this more when we do the movie segment, but like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, all of a sudden you have like a black characters, black Puerto Rican characters, like. That must have resonated with you too, right?
Right, definitely resonated with me, and it resonated with my girlfriend even more because she's black and white, and we all got to see that together. So, Macho Man! No one here is probably as big as a wrestling fan as I am.
Yeah.
So to have Macho Man in here,
I can appreciate Macho Man.
I like Macho Man back when I watched wrestling. Yes.
Didn't he die?
He's dead.
Long after.
Yeah.
No, not long. No, it was long after.
It was.
I thought late 2000s, I think.
Okay.
Early 2013,
Wait,
I don't know.
Really? It was that long?
Wait, Bruce Campbell?
Bruce Campbell's in everyone, right?
Of course, Sam Raimi's Good Luck Charm from all the Evil Dead movies.
And if you notice, he cut to audience members sawing their arm off.
Yeah.
Right when Bruce Campbell's from in Evil Dead.
That's funny.
From the Evil Dead.
Guys, I'm now remembering. I saw this on a first date, a double date with a girl.
Wow.
See, I
remember this.
I don't actually remember. I remember seeing it at the movie theater. I don't remember what I was doing. I don't know what I was wearing.
Guys, I'm just realizing now. I honestly don't think I've seen this all the way through since May 3rd, 2002. Octavia Spencer. Are you kidding me?
Holy shit! I didn't even
know. Nobody knew who Octavia Spencer was.
No way.
What?
I mean,
she still looks the same.
I remember
she does.
I remember watching this movie when it came out and
seeing
this character and thinking like, oh, she's funny with sarcasm with Peter right now.
That's
amazing. That was
amazing.
Octavia Spencer. Holy shit.
That's crazy.
That's definitely why I work.
To express it.
Yeah, so it's been almost 17 years since I've watched this, I think.
Wow.
That's crazy. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about, since I also have this in the chamber, the box office for this movie.
Let's do it.
This movie opened, when this opened in May 2002, this was the first movie to ever gross $100 million on its opening weekend.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It is. The previous record was, I think the first Harry Potter grossed like 90-something million in its opening weekend. And this grossed $114 million in its opening weekend.
You mean Titanic didn't do more?
No, Titanic was more of a long game. It was in theaters for a long time.
Okay.
Titanic had that Sixth Sense effect.
So word of mouth. But yeah, 114 million. It held the record for 4 years. If any of you have seen early seasons of Entourage when James Cameron is making Aquaman.
Yep.
With Vinny Chase, they talk about breaking the opening weekend record of Spiderman.
Can I tell you, I really wanted that to happen. Like, I really wanted
it. I know, when Aquaman just came out, I
Dude.
kept thinking about Entourage.
Do you remember that scene where he, in the scene from he jumps over the bridge? I was like,
hell yeah.
I was so excited
That's
for
one of
that.
the best episodes, too. Yeah. Anyway, so... First movie to gross over 100 million opening week, 114 million, held the record for about 4 years until I think it was the second Pirates of the Caribbean came out in 2006, which grossed about 100. I think it was like 135 opening weekend. So for 4 years, this was the number one highest grossing opening weekend of all time until about 13-ish years ago, right? Guess where that opening weekend ranks now in 2019.
Okay, let's go.
Ooh, 21.
Guess?
You said 21?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 27.
Chris?
I'm gonna go with 30. I'm gonna go with 30.
It is the number 41 highest grossing weekend of all time.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Up until 2006, this was the highest opening weekend of all time. And now it's literally 40 movies in the last 13 years.
From Iron Man in 2008, though, honestly, every year almost, it's been like a new record from...
Now, the top record now is Infinity War, which I think made about 257 opening weekend. That's more than double what this made.
I don't know. I think Batman... what was it? The Dark Knight
was one
held that. It held that for until that.
Harry Potter. 3 years.
Sure,
it held it for about 3 years. Yeah, Dark Knight held it for about 2 or 3 years. The record. Yeah, but now it's like Force Awakens was 247 in the opening weekend. So 250. Oh, Avengers was the first movie to cross 200.
So numbers aside, what do we attribute that to? Is that more people going to the box office? Like, what is that? Why is
it was
happening?
this. I mean, X-Men was only 2 years away. Oh, I was saying, well, this one set the record at the time. But yes, I mean, it has a little to do with inflation. But even with inflation, it's still a big thing. I think just people are really into these interconnected universes. People weren't really into we've talked about this before,
right.
Like X-Men. Comic book movies were not a sure thing. This came out in 2002.
It's crazy.
So, like, it really launched it. People are really into that now.
Before this, when Titanic hit and did over $2 billion, like, you never would... I mean, I think maybe, Jurassic Park do big numbers too back in the day as well?
Jurassic Park at one point was the highest grossing movie of all time before Titanic.
You just didn't see movies making $1 billion. It didn't make sense. Yeah. And then now it's every
given.
time.
It's given. Yeah, that's internationally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising that Aquaman was the first DC to finally do it.
Guess what? This movie, even without inflation, is still the highest grossing Spider-Man movie.
Oh wow!
It's grossed over. It's the only one that's grossed over 400 million domestically.
Really?
Just domestically, not worldwide. But domestically, grossed over 400 million. It's still, when you guess where it ranks when you add up all the domestic grosses of all the Marvel movies.
I don't want to know. Probably far.
I don't know.
Well, maybe not as far back as there.
You said domestic of all the?
Yeah.
Oh, this is probably number 13.
I believe it's 7.
Okay.
It's still up there. It's surprising. This is 6 years before the MCU even launched. It still is 7, so that's how big this movie is. Without inflation, it grossed just over 400 million.
I mean, with
inflation, it's like 600.
This isn't an ensemble piece either. This is just one character that we're following too. No. We don't even see hair. We haven't seen Green Goblin for how long? It's been 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Oh, we haven't. I mean, and we haven't even really seen him yet. He hasn't been in costume yet. It's just been kind of pre.
Not Joe. Wait, is Joe Cool Batman or is that?
That's Batman. Yeah.
Oh, whoops! I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
He's aggregated us.
I realized
that's okay. I
realized
aggregated earlier different way. But anyway, we are now at that iconic moment in the movie where we get the Spider-Man that he's gonna change to become the hero that he eventually will become, and it's this is one of the most
this is like his Luke Skywalker moment.
It really
Luke
is.
Skywalker when he sees Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen get killed, he decides.
Chris, I gotta say one thing, when is there ever an open wrestling match where people can just jump in and get beat up? Or beat up the wrestler. Is that real? That's all I want. I don't know. Because I mean, that's in the Spider-Man lore, but I don't know where that's at anywhere.
I don't know, man. I feel like that could be a thing.
What? Just giant wrestling? Come on in and fight. No.
And like last for a certain amount of time. I feel like I've seen it somewhere, maybe on YouTube in the streets. But
I mean, I feel like it might be an underground thing, but nothing like that.
It was on Love.
Oh, okay.
The Netflix show Love.
Wait,
but no,
what was on?
but they trained him to do that.
Yeah.
Guys, this is really sad.
It is, and this is very close in proximity to Clark Kent and his father, him dying, and that changing him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
this is sadder. This
really
is
sad because it's literally Peter's fault.
And Toby's trying his best to cry like a real person, which we appreciate.
Oh yeah.
Those tears are just pissing me off.
Was that Vaseline?
Definitely Vaseline. Yeah, look at that.
But he makes his facial expression when he doesn't. I just want to punch him in the face.
This is really sad.
Like, I feel bad that I want to punch him in the face, but
he was going out anyways. Look how old he is.
I know.
He has like a year left.
Look at this crybaby face. I'm
Then
sorry.
again, Martin Sheen played.
Can you just shut the fuck up, Toby Maguire? Stop fucking crying, please.
I always thought Uncle Ben's death is one of the saddest comic book moments.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up there. It
More
really is.
than because it's his fault.
It's
like
his
the whole
fault.
Batman thing.
Is
That
that-
wasn't Batman's fault.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, it wasn't. He was a kid.
Ryan, is this how it works in the comics too? Does he?
I know I messed up earlier, but Chris backed me up. Yes, I believe this is definitely how it works in the
No,
comics.
that's how it works in the comics,
causes
yes.
Uncle Ben to get killed.
I don't remember if it
It's all in
was
the
from
cartoons.
a wrestling situation. I think.
Oh no, the wrestling situation was real too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought that was real.
I mean, it was some kind of like fighting thing, but yeah.
We never see Uncle Ben's
They
death
modernize
in the cartoon, right?
In
I don't
the
ever remember.
No, it
cartoon,
was, but the
I
story's
don't remember
there. We don't see the Uncle Ben's death, but they talked about it.
Probably too
Right.
to show it.
I think maybe that's another reason why, because we can't forget how popular that Spider-Man cartoon was.
Yep.
That was extremely huge. Just like X-Men. That's why both of those films did so well. I think because they were building off of that cartoon lore that was already created.
Yeah. No, I agree. I hear you 100%. And of course, before his death, we got one of the most iconic phrases in history, even beyond comic book history, and I'm sure you guys know it very well. What am I thinking of?
Bonesaw's ready?
Nope. Anyone else want to
Great power
comes great
that's
responsibility.
Don't you say it like it's Spider-Verse.
Don't you say
Don't you finish that? Ricky Bobby.
Sick of it.
I'll put you on me, Ricky Bobby.
No, but it really, I got a Stan. Unbelievable line to come up with that. It's so amazing.
I know, it sounds like it's like such a it's like a. You
So
think it would be like an
meaningful.
ancient Chinese
Yeah.
proverb or something.
So does this not look cool to you guys?
No, okay.
I think it
Yes,
looks cool.
it's slightly dated, but yeah, it still holds up. The CG of him swinging through the city and stuff. Because there's still a lot of real elements, and I think think about this, 2002, we didn't get a lot of CG like stunts in movies yet. Okay, the Matrix sequels were the year after this. Like I said, the CG of the people really reminds me of that. But before this, there wasn't that too much of that yet. You had digital characters really took off in like '99 with the Phantom Menace, which was 3 years before this.
Can you center to who would have been doing the CG at this time? Was there like one or two companies, or like who would have been?
Was it the ILM?
I don't know if I know John Dykstra was the
Industrial Light and
supervisor.
Magic,
I'm not
for people who don't know.
Was this I'm not 100% sure which company did this.
I just have to say that is one thing I love about us in these podcasts is I can ask that kind of a question and at least one of the dudes in this group knows. I'm like, who the fuck knows who was doing CG?
I'm not 100% sure who did the CG for this. It's either ILM, Sony ImageWorks, or Digital Domain. I guarantee it's one of those three movies that did the VFX.
What about Lucas? I mean, but that was solely for his films, alright? I mean, but did they not?
Well, ILM is a Lucasfilm company.
Oh, gotcha.
But
Okay.
They do stuff for more than just Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. Because he was really Lucas. I mean George Lucas. He was really the father of like special effects.
I don't think ILM did this, but we'll see in the end credits. We'll watch those.
Look at that. Shadows in the background.
This kind of has like a Batman.
This is very.
This is like Batman.
Yeah.
He goes,
Wait, everyone do their best Batman.
Who are you? Right here when he comes out of set.
I'm gonna be Michael Keaton. I'm Batman.
Where's the trigger?
I'm Spider-Man.
Who are you?
Who are you? But he's
take this.
This is about as violent as we're ever going to see Peter Parker for the most part. I mean, with like a general person.
And like the crazy thing is, as a kid, I wanted him to be this violent too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
like you really wanted him to get his revenge.
He fucking killed his only fatherly figure. I mean, yeah, you want him to kill this guy.
Who plays this dude? Do we recognize this guy?
I do recognize him. I just can't pinpoint him.
I don't know if I recognize him.
Okay, I gotta look now because I do.
He just recognized him.
We need the flashback.
in black and white.
With
It's not really
flashes.
black and white. Was that like sepia?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Okay, I was gonna say while you guys were talking about the CGI and stuff, like I like the CGI better here than I do in the third installment of this film. The third installment looked like a video game to me. I remember hating it.
Well, like I said, Sam Raimi wanted to reduce the CGI elements in this, which he was probably able to do, but then as the sequels got bigger and more complex, he probably just had to relinquish and say, okay, just like, and it looked way more animated. And that I think that's what happens nowadays in a lot of movies, too, which is unfortunate. So that's why you're seeing a trend towards more practical effects, which is great because people are getting...
So the character that goes by he goes by simply Carjacker in the movie, his name's Michael Papa John.
Papa John?
Oh, okay.
Oh, from Papa John
He's
Pizza?
been in a lot of things. Oh, he was in Jeepers Creepers 3.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Don't support that movie.
I saw it.
Don't support any Jeepers Creepers.
He was in Jurassic World 2015.
Jurassic World.
I mean, he's been in some stuff.
Well, Chad, you're really onto something about the CGI. I mean, that's why what's that movie? That's why Mad Max, the latest installment, did so well. You know, because a lot of that was practical.
Yeah.
You can feel it as an audience
like
member.
the new Star Wars movies, they're going back to making practical puppets and animatronics.
I think it's
Really?
smart,
Are they?
man. I think it's fun to see
You know,
that
I
stuff.
miss
Yeah.
like
Some-
you remember the
some
old
of the
Ninja
stuff,
Turtles movies before they were
I
all
referenced
CG
them
when
earlier.
the Jim Henson Creature Shop created the animatronic masks. I
Some
love
of that stuff.
A lot
I
of
love
people.
that
A
stuff.
lot
I'm
of
going to
people
say
say
some of that stuff.
the John Carpenter movie, The Thing. A lot of
Yeah.
people say the special effects from that movie are some of the most
That's some of the best
iconic
ever.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
for
fuck.
sure.
Those
Yeah.
monsters.
I would say a
so
friend of mine, he was big in the comic books. He was a big Spider-Man fan, but he felt the CG in this movie was too CG. Like he didn't look like the Spider-Man didn't look
I
real.
mean, there's no other way. At this time, they did their best with creating like you had to do that.
Right.
You know,
Well, to me, I mean, I feel like it's like you said. It's because it's a newer thing.
Yeah.
At the time, CG was a newer thing. So to me, when I look at it now, it does look a little like early 2000s, but it doesn't look
no, it's not
so
bad.
fake.
It's not bad.
It looks like it actually fits.
Okay.
It looks like it's pretty good. But I think it's because it was so new.
Oh, this
yeah.
poor test pilot. What did he do? Oh,
This is
definitely
Osborn's competition.
It was a
That
cool
was a great
transition.
transition.
This
It
was-
was the drawing of the motorboards.
That's Green Goblin. Green Goblin blew up the competition.
Look at all the green.
And then all the
There's
green
a lot
hats
of-
flew for
there's a lot of
graduation.
color coordinated. Like the characters are wearing the
Yep.
colors of like their enemies. Like it's really.
This is very David Dunn right now.
Oh, hey, Martin. Maybe that if Shyamalan had directed this, would that have been the twist ending where like Spider-Man comes like is in a subway station, like David Dunn steps off the train and like boom, Spider-Man's in the Unbreakable universe. Come on, right?
I mean, we should get
Right?
a little reference as to why you're bringing up.
Unbreakable is a Buena
Shyamalan.
Vista property. Buena Vista is Disney. Disney bought Marvel. Unbreakable and the Marvel universe could be. Dude, what if?
But actually,
David
Marge
Dunn
is a
pops
huge
up
shit by
in-
Shyamalan.
And this is all Sony though. But this is all Sony.
I would lose
This is
my
all
shit. I would lose my shit if like
This is
Endgame was a
Sony.
reference to Unbreakable.
Oh man, I'd be dead. I'm just like,
Yeah, but now Spider-Man's in the official Disney MCU. So
Now he is. At this time, there was no
At the
official.
time, okay, you're right.
There
you're
was
right.
none.
But if Shyamalan,
but talks had been the MCU was in the works at this point.
I think
they
so.
knew
Yeah,
what
this
was
was
gonna
6
happen.
years before. It took a lot of time.
Well, I think after X-Men,
What was the defining moment though? Was it X-Men? Was it?
I think it was X-Men.
Was it
and
here
this
where they're like,
proved-
okay.
and this proved,
I mean,
like
this
I
too.
just talked about the box office. This proved that Marvel properties were viable,
Yeah.
like things at the theater that could make
I mean,
more
I
money
agree.
than any movie's been made.
I think
before,
X-Men
you know?
did it, but if anything did it more, I mean, yeah.
This made way more
Well, this
money.
continued
This
it.
made
This
way more money
continued
than
it.
X-Men too. So,
Right, right.
Yeah.
God, there's that fucking crying again.
Okay, that looks way more. His
that-
forehead isn't even scrunched
No, he
like it
does
was
this. He
before.
does this little chin thing.
No,
I just want to punch
Literally,
him.
they went
Right.
hold, and they were
Sucker punch
they were like roll, and they squeezed like clear eyes in his eyes, and then action, and then he had to move his eyes a little, and the
I'm
tears
just
fall
saying,
bleeding.
if Tobey
Yes,
Maguire
that's
one
what
day
happened.
suddenly got facial paralysis, I'd be okay with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, what has Tobey Maguire been in lately?
But
What
don't
is
put
he-
that evil on him, Reggie
Don't
Bobby.
put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. In like an autobiographical.
That was like
narrative.
years ago.
I know, but that was like the most recent.
What was the most recent thing Tobey Maguire's been?
Tropic Thunder. He did that movie.
Well, that was before what I just
Wait,
mentioned.
Tobey Maguire's in Tropic
He
Thunder?
Was he?
He played
I haven't
a.
seen it in a long time.
Hold my
I don't know
was
the
it
correct
Hold My
terminology. But he he's becoming self-aware of some feelings that he has towards Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Iron Man. In the pre-movie to Tropic Thunder.
Oh, it's like the Brokeback Mountain type.
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
And he had that same look on his face.
He definitely did. Yes.
I want to be looking at Marissa Tomei right now.
Just picture her.
Okay, so why?
This actress is still alive, by the way. She's like
Is she?
She's like 93 years old. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
Martin,
She could have. I still think she should have let Jack get on the board with her.
Wait, what?
Oh, Jesus! She was not the same actress.
What are we talking about?
Rose
He went Titanic with it.
Oh, you had to do that. Oh, you son of a...
Oh, my God. Hey, his suit kind of looks like
And
Miles.
she's right. He's
there,
right. She should have let
Miles Morales. It looked very black with the red on there.
Yes, very
when he
did.
took it out.
It looked very.
Oh, it's so cool.
He's such a nerd. He like does little like doodles like
himself.
And he knows how to sew too.
On graph
He can
paper,
sew.
guys. When was the last time you used graph paper? It was probably like 2004.
I usually
or
wipe
something
my
last
ass
time I
with it,
used
if we're being
graph
honest,
paper.
when I go to the bathroom.
Graph paper.
Good old graph paper. Let me just do a little quick, more collector monetary thing if I can. Unless you have something really
Let's
quick
do
to
it.
say, Martin.
Oh, I had a real quick
yeah,
thing. They
shoot,
developed
shoot,
a new
shoot.
kind of camera called the Spider Cam that would swing through to get those shots of like swinging through the streets.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
think they rigged it up and everything, but in the streets of New York. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to give you guys a fun little progression of... I've never owned Amazing Fantasy 15. That's kind of always been at a different financial point that I didn't want to go to. That's a very expensive book. It's really up there with the Superman one and the Batman... I mean, not like in their they get very... So I have owned multiple copies of Amazing Spider-Man 1, which was the first comic dedicated to Spider-Man and came out in 1963, a year after his first appearance in 62. So to put into perspective, I have owned a 1.5, a CGC 2.5, and a CGC 3.5, which all I got personally signed by Stan and graded.
Wow.
The 3.5 I sold about 4 or 5 years ago for $4,000. That goes for about 9 now. So
wow.
it's had a nice progression. Yeah, it really has. It's a book that just constantly goes up. It's also the first ever Marvel crossover because the Fantastic Four are in Amazing Spider-Man 1. So.
Wow.
This montage of him helping New Yorkers, like how funny
Is that Chad Kroger?
No, it's not. I don't think it's Jack Kroger.
No, it's not him.
How funny was that? Like, I love he's just like helping out the New Yorkers. How funny was that in like Homecoming when he goes to do it and like things just go wrong?
Yep. That's how you get the stamp
They start yelling at him. Yeah.
He's like,
Here
hey,
we go.
Marge.
We finally get J. Jonah Jameson.
Dude, we're past the midpoint of this movie.
It's been a while.
And Spider-Man.
J.K. Simmons finally.
We haven't even had
popping
the
up.
real villain. No, not really. I mean, a little
We
bit.
haven't even had the first showdown yet.
That's true.
That's so interesting. I now understand what my screenwriting teacher was talking about. Like, at first, the superhero needs to beat up the bank robbers and stuff like that. He needs to do that small stuff before he hits the big guys.
Right.
We're halfway through this movie and he's barely beating up bank robbers. Hey Capers, alright, so you've made it to the end of part 1 of the Spider-Man audio commentary. Next week, on Tuesday, we're going to be releasing part 2. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We'd love to hear from you. See you guys soon.